Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Pauline.
Good morning, Gaz.
Morning.
Welcome to our table talk. It's a bit of a juggle today. Juggling kids.
We have 4 kids.
In the store. Hopefully they'll give us an hour to be able to interact with you guys. But since today's table talk is all about, well, not all, but we are definitely going to be putting a heavy emphasis on nutrition for children. We have a lot of questions from parents and grandparents about kids, how to help them support bringing up healthier children and how difficult it is in this food environment.
Yeah, nutrition with kids. We're all going through the same dilemma. All the kids are, all they want is sugar, it seems. A lot of kids, they're addicted to sugar. As much as we try and feed our kids a lot of omega-3s and meats and vegetables, we still face that same issue. They still want to eat sugar, you know. Let's face it, they're all sugar addicts, most of them.
Well, it's hardwired into us. You know, as adults, we know how difficult it can be giving up sugar. When you're a child, you don't have that rational part of your brain as mature as we have. So not only do they have that genetic caveman in their brain going, give me the sugar, give me, and the addiction of wheat, they also don't have the maturity to say, this could damage my health. They're just thinking, feed the monster, feed the addiction inside. So,
I mean, yesterday we had lunch, and I'm sure most of you go through this. All they want to do is, well, first of all, they scan the picnic. And then they look for, I guess they look for the pretty package or whatever they're familiar with. In this case, yesterday being biscuits. And I don't mean chocolate biscuits. You bought some...
we have different ones in here.
You bought some biscuits yesterday or the day before yesterday's picnic?
I did, yeah. Oats-based ones.
And that became lunch for 1 or 2. And it just became, I'll just have that for lunch. And I'm sure a lot of you go through that. So it's an issue, and it's, I don't want to call it a battle, but...
it can be a battle for some parents if you create a battleground, and what we want to do is make sure that it doesn't turn into a battle, because that can actually reinforce fussy eating and then problematic eating behaviour. So
it's a battle of wills, really, isn't it? Because you really don't want them to have the sugary items or the, you know, you want them to eat well. And all they see is, you know, the brightly coloured packets. I just want to eat, well, I was going to say cheeky monkeys, but these are actually quite good, aren't they?
Yeah. So we basically, we want to, reassure you guys that we have the same issues with our kids. You know, it's not easy, especially when they go to birthday parties, they're at other people's houses, they're with well-intentioned
out of your control
relatives who want to treat the children. School is another major issue, really, isn't it? Because
grandparents.
There are all of these environments that are outside of our control. However, what we want to do is make sure we don't get too obsessed, too fixated, and see the food landscape for kids as a spectrum. Really start to pick your battles, and it's as much about removing some key things as it is adding other things. So for us, it's very much gluten-free. Everything they have is gluten-free. So the pastas, they'll have a chickpea pasta. I didn't actually grab a pasta, but a chickpea pasta over a wheat pasta. Or they might have a soybean pasta or a bean pasta, but they prefer the chickpea. In fact, they don't even know the difference between wheat pasta and chickpea pasta. Would we have chickpea pasta? No. It's too carby for me, and I would say for Gaz too. But the kids would have it, and we wouldn't give them big bowls of it, but we'd certainly allow them to have, you know, a portion of chickpea pasta alongside their meats or their vegetables or their cheese or pasta sauce, whatever they're having. So, strictly speaking, we try and raise the kids with balance. They're not as low carb as we are by any means.
No.
However, children do have different nutritional requirements. They can eat more banana and mango and fruit because they are constantly on the go. Do they need all the sugar and fructose and glucose? No. But it's about, again, trying to create that balance and sense of enjoyment around food for kids. And so we really mix in fruit with meats and vegetables when it comes to creating a picnic style food. So we'll put blueberries in a bowl on the table on the same sort of display with chorizo,
Yeah.
salami meats, and we love giving them charcuterie meats, but really good quality charcuterie meats, and we spend a decent amount of money on charcuterie meats.
But what we also do is we put out food, and with eagle eyes, we watch, we take note of what they really like, so you end up having that in a priority order for each child. So noting that at least you have something to go to for Tanya, it's tuna mayo.
Yeah, perfect.
Tuna mayo, who would have known? He loves tuna mayo.
I love tuna mayo. I adore tuna mayo. Prawn mayo as well. The kids love
prawn
prawns,
mayo.
smoked salmon.
Yeah.
And they love salami and dried meats.
So still giving them the highest quality tuna, Pauline's tuna.
I love tinned fish for life. I think it is. Do really nice tinned fish. Now, yes, it is more expensive. It is.
Is it worth it?
Oh my gosh, I think so. I adore this tuna fish. And last night, it was yesterday lunchtime because we had it on the picnic. I basically just mixed up a tin of tuna, some avocado mayonnaise, and some seaweed sauerkraut, and that was lunch. And it's a convenient lunch for me, but it's so delicious.
But when you see your child eating healthy food, healthy mayo and healthy tuna was it on a Sow Arrow bun?
Yeah, he had it on gluten-free. Well, we give it to them sometimes on gluten-free crackers. Yeah. These ones, so I would eat the almond keto crackers personally because they're super low in carbs. But for them, they're a bit herby, they're a bit like, so we buy them the plain oat cakes. They're always gluten-free, but they'll have these with some tuna mayo or some cheese, just some plain cheese and ham, cheese, cucumber and ham, so layering up these crackers so that it essentially ends up being a carrier, but it's still, it's nothing like giving them wheat and gluten and the inflammatory effects of gluten. So
yeah.
So picnic food when you have picnic food as well, it allows them to select things themselves.
Yes, and they love doing that.
Which is important.
Yeah, and essentially you're ticking a few boxes there, allowing them to make their own choices, which as we all know, kids love to do, and they respond really well to it. Our kids certainly do respond really well to being able to mix up and make their own choices. We just have to keep an eye on them because those choices they go askew and they just go straight in for a whole box of biscuits if they're not
keep
careful.
The biscuits off. I mean, at the dinner table we wouldn't usually put. A picnic was a bit different yesterday because they'll get everything out and they know what's in that basket that we bring. So when it comes to the dinner table, we wouldn't put biscuits out as such, but we would put things like, I've selected a few items here to make it easier for you guys. We'd put things like cheesies in one bowl, or we'd put
those chorizo
thins, bits of biltong.
Yeah.
So we'll always have some sort of meat, boiled eggs, prawns.
And these are all the foods that we've noted over time that they love.
Yeah.
They love to snack on. So we
Picky food.
try and bring it all in together, and then there's lunch or dinner.
Or a light dinner. I mean, they will eat things like bolognese, but if we're creating, especially after school, you want to create an evening meal that's healthy, it's convenient, they're going to eat it, and if they're being a bit fussy, you're not thinking, oh, now I've wasted it. If you put it on the table, and especially as well, if all of you are eating together and you're all selecting, like, oh, I'm just going to try the sauerkraut.
Yeah.
And we always say to them, let your brain taste something 5-6 times, because initially it might say, no, I don't like it. And now they know that. They're like, oh, my brain doesn't like it the first time. So, well, what happens the second or third time? Oh, well, it might like it. So they'll always give it another go. And actually, guys, the research, part of my master's was, my dissertation was how to increase fruit and veg uptake in children, particularly 6-year-olds. Had to be very specific. Anyway, the research around trying and disliking things showed that sometimes children, especially young children, will reject things up to 10 times before they accept it.
Wow.
Up to 10 times. So if we give up at number 3 and say they don't like tuna or they don't like broccoli at number 3 or 4,
Wow.
they never get to that point 8, 9 or 10 where they go, actually I quite like this.
Yeah. Because
Especially,
that actually happens.
of course it does, yeah. One week they don't like it and then all of a sudden they're chowing down on, broccoli or a certain vegetable and you're like, well, you haven't liked that for the last 3 months and now you can't get enough of it.
And you probably note that your kids do that. Last month you didn't like that. Yeah, but now I do.
Or last month you did like it and now I don't.
Yeah.
And that, again, is a big problem for children because their palates change according to what you're feeding them. So if they're getting a lot of sugary foods, broccoli tastes terrible when your palate is so used to sweet sugar. It tastes bitter. I don't know if any of you guys have been on this kind of healthy keto journey with us, but you may have noted yourself that all of a sudden peppers taste so much sweeter.
Yeah,
Broccoli tastes really delicious now, whereas 4 or 5 months ago it might have tasted just like bland old broccoli. So pick the foods that you know will help transition them, like cherry tomatoes, and get them involved, guys. Get the kids. I get them slicing up, like chopping cherry tomatoes in half, and then they'll put salt on them, they'll chop up garlic, they'll put that on the cherry tomatoes, so that they're actually involved in producing the foods that they're going to eat, because they are much more likely to eat it if they've helped choosing it, if they've helped prepare it, and if they see it on the table, not on their plate. So they can just take a spoonful, just try 1 or 2 bits of this. Ooh, okay, I quite like that. And then they can get a bit more. It can be quite daunting if they see a plate of food and think, oh no, I have to eat this now and I'm being forced to eat it and I don't like any of it, and their brain just...
See, the interesting thing is, take Austin and Elise, for example. They've been chowing down on fish oils since day dot.
And when Gaz said chowing down, chewing them. They
Chowing
will
down.
chew.
They don't wash them down. They just
chew them.
chew on them and chow on them and then swallow them. Since day dot though, and so this is perfectly normal for them. And I think as a parent, we lose patience very quickly with kids' selection or their or with them when it comes to eating food. We tend to lose patience very quickly. Reminding ourselves that, for example, with Austin and Elise, they've been doing this all their lives. So it's nothing. Every morning, just chuck it in.
In fact, they ask
chop
for them.
on it.
They call them their chewies.
Yeah.
Can we have our chewies?
But that's the normal, right? It's the norm for those two. Maybe not the norm for a lot of you out there, but you get where I'm going with this. It's more about creating the habit.
Yeah.
And giving it a chance. And like you said, 10 times.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing it 10 times,
Gently
20
pushing
times. Gently pushing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because they will resist. And some of you will know this. Kids can be so stubborn when it comes
Stubborn
to...
or passionate?
No, well, I'm not eating it. I don't like it.
Okay.
They know what they like. They know
Yeah.
what they don't like. And it takes that encouragement. It takes that, okay, we'll just try it. Or why don't we mix it with, for example, avo mayo. I had someone in the other day who was saying, I love avocado mayonnaise. I know it's a healthier choice. The avocado oils in there are such a healthy choice for adults, but also for children. How can I encourage my child to eat it? They look at it and they're like, no. So I said, why don't you take some of the Dr. Will's ketchup, so it's like a healthier version of ketchup, and mix in a little bit, or even some tomato puree, so it makes it into a pink kind of dipping sauce, and use it for their chicken dippers, or use it for prawns. And
would you even go as far as putting it in a different bottle?
I've
jar?
suggested that to
The one that they
parents.
always eat
A lot
from?
of parents have wanted to get their kids off things like Petit Falou,
Yeah.
the yogurts that contain a lot of sugar. And I've said, well, take a natural yogurt. You can blend up some fruit. You can even put some of the fruit powders in. You can make your own yogurt and just put it in the pot. And then often kids will be so distracted by the packaging, they don't notice that it's a different product inside it. And over time, you can transition them off what it is that you're trying to get them off,
Yeah.
Crisps and deep fat fried food, guys. Crisps are just, you don't want to be giving them Walkers and all of these foods. And this is why I've brought a selection of alternatives, because finding alternatives is great for kids. So things like these, cheeky monkeys. Now, the first ingredient in these is peanut butter. So it's a nice option for giving kids a puffed snack, but they taste delicious and they're very child friendly, as you can see with a little monkey on the front. They look fun, they look appetizing to children, and you know that. So if you look at the carb content, per 60 grams you get 30 grams of carbs, and then the ingredients are organic peanut butter, organic corn, and sustainable palm oil and sea salt. So whilst they wouldn't be my choice, I'm very happy for the kids to have a handful of these with their lunch or with their picnic. Or
So it's a great transition.
it is, if we're going to the cinema, we tend to take, I know it's difficult because they're peanut and there's so many allergy issues these days with taking your own food places.
But you have to go through that transitional period, right?
Yeah.
Transitioning them over, taking them off the sugar.
They're very, very sweet, and especially things with corn syrup or inverted fructose syrup. Fructose is a very, very cheap and sweet product that food manufacturers love because it's easy to manufacture. It is very, very sweet, it's very addictive, but it drives fatty liver. If any of you have read my book, you'll understand what I'm talking about by fatty liver, but children are also becoming increasingly affected by fatty liver because of the high sugar, high fructose, inverted fructose syrup, all of these new sugars that have been invented that are sweetening drinks and sweets and basically cheaply produced products that are just they're not part of a healthy food environment. So these are something else that the kids, they're not so keen on the cocoa ones, but they do love the passion fruit macaroons. And again, the ingredients on these are desiccated coconut, coconut oil, almonds, sunflower seeds, raw honey, maple syrup, freeze-dried passion fruit powder, and vanilla. And they are 3 grams of carbs per little cake thing. So again, it's not so much about the carbs for kids. I always am aware of that, but it's more what's in the packet, what ingredients are in here. Are they adding to their health? Are they going to send them on a sugar roller coaster, loop-de-loop? We all see what happens when kids have those crazy meltdowns.
Haribo meltdowns.
The Haribo effect.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we don't really see so much of that with the kids, but you see other parents struggling with it. And you know, the thing about sugar, guys, is it doesn't just send their blood sugars on this roller coaster, but it depletes kids of zinc and B vitamins. And these are the nutrients that are really needed to maintain a calm brain, a well-focused brain, a happy brain. You know, when we're lacking zinc and these B vitamins, we can become depressed, emotional, you know, ADHD, which is a condition that affects more and more children these days. When we look at supplementing certain nutrients, the symptoms of ADHD can massively improve by even adding a simple nutritional yeast. Now this is a really fantastic source of B vitamins. You don't have to go out and buy an expensive B vitamin supplement. You can just literally add some cheesy flakes, and our kids love these. They call them cheese flakes. So we have some of these on the table. They might layer up a little bit of whatever these are, oatcakes, yeah, with some tomato puree or a bit of tomato pasta sauce, and then they might put a bit of cheese and then nutritional yeast. Or we'll always add this onto bologneses. It's just about getting the raw nutritional yeast flakes into the diet, knowing that the brain is then getting, well, not just the brain, I mean, B vitamins are essential for many, many other functions, including energy, but mental well-being and brain stability, which I know is something that a lot of parents ask about. My child is on an emotional roller coaster. The first thing that needs to happen is stabilize the blood sugars. The second thing is make sure they're getting the nutrients that are getting depleted by the poor diets that they're exposed to at school, you know, all around us. Because it's not just what it's adding, it's what it's taking away as well.
Yeah, yeah. What were you like as a child?
Well, I grew up in a very different food environment. You know, I grew up in the 80s, which is, you know, so different to this food environment. We had meat and veg. This is no exaggeration, and if any of my family are watching, you will know what I'm saying when I say this. We looked forward to having a babysitter because it was the one time we had a Kit Kat. That is so different to the food environment that kids are exposed to now. idea of snacks was created by food manufacturers to make us buy more products.
Yeah.
Snacks were not even heard of in my day. You know, we didn't have snacks. It was, I'm hungry, lunch will be ready in an hour, go out and play. You know, and then it's dinner time, and you ate dinner because you knew dinner time was dinner time, and you ate your dinner, and that was it. There's no snacking. There's no little bags of Nestle's, Kinder bars with the ideal snack. I mean, what a load of rubbish that is. It's when we give our kids so many snacks, A, they're not going to be hungry at lunch or dinner, and B, you're driving the idea through to adulthood that you need to eat all the time. So snacks are something that were created by the food industry to make us eat and buy more. And, you know, that's one of the big fundamental differences from where I grew up. It was, you know, meat and veg, pork chops with vegetables, bolognese, and that's it.
Yeah, 3 meals a day with snacks in between.
No snacks in between.
No snacks in between.
No, that's what I'm saying. As a child, we didn't do snacking.
Gosh.
There was no snacking.
Must be hard back in the 60s.
Do any of you guys, does anyone relate to what I'm saying? You know, do any of you remember, you know, having all these snacks and...
Well, hey, we had snacks when I was a kid, you know. It might have just been a small box of raisins or fruit, you know, but we always knew that you had 3 meals a day and snacks in between. That came through school, though, through the schooling system, because in between breakfast and lunch, you had snack time, and in between lunch and in between lunch and the end of school, you had snack time. You were let out to play, and you were allowed to have your little snack.
So we didn't have that.
So, you know, 3 meals a day with snacks in between. Now, I think that's been driven over the years as the thing to do when to keep your metabolism driving forward. I think a lot of people might have heard that or just know that that's the norm, which now, as we can see, is part of the problem, because those snacks become... You have food companies out there who call their food snack, you know, Snickers or Mars bar or...
They try and... I mean, I complained to the food advertising standard agency about 7 years ago when Nesquik tried to promote to mums that this was the perfect start to your child's day.
Wow.
And in the advert it said, the ideal start to your child's day, and the first ingredients on there are sugar. So I complained to these advertising standards agency, and they said, no, sorry, there's nothing wrong with what they're saying. And I find it so frustrating that we are able to take a really sugary cereal and put Heart Healthy on it, and it's advertised to parents that it's a great choice for your child.
So it's fortified.
No, not even fortified. It's Heart Healthy because it's made with some processed cereal. You know, yes, they're fortified because if they weren't fortified, they'd essentially just be cardboard. But they will take an oat-based cereal that is so loaded with sugar and say Heart Healthy when the first ingredient is sugar. How can that possibly be heart healthy? That is the furthest from heart healthy you can get. Eggs are a heart healthy way to start your kid's day. If your kids will eat boiled eggs, dippy eggs, scrambled eggs, bit of bacon and eggs with some, you know, gluten-free toast, or, you know, if they'll eat the keto rolls or the paleo bread. If not, then even a couple of oat cakes, some raw oats, raw gluten-free organic oats mixed in with some
yogurt,
full-fat yogurt, like a Year Valley one or even a goat's yogurt. But really trying to see some of the cardboard foods out there as just perpetuating the blood sugar roller coaster. And don't always think of breakfast as having to be traditional. You know, the kids will eat biltong for breakfast. They'll have, Elise will have cheese and crackers for breakfast. She'll have olives. You know, we don't say to them, right, it's a breakfast cereal or it's a croissant or whatever traditionally kids should have for breakfast. It's what meats are left over from last night or lunch. You know, would you like some cold ham, or would you like some chorizo meats? Would you like some boiled egg? Would you like olives? Even quiche. Austin will have a slice of keto quiche for breakfast. It's whatever they fancy that works ready to get their brain engaged for school or stable for the day. Their brains are growing at a rapid rate, and their bodies are using up all these amino acids, the building blocks of protein, to build them. Gaz, if you scroll through just to see, I can't see any questions there. So they do have different nutritional needs at different ages, particularly when boys get to about the age of 11 and they start making sperm. So their zinc levels can really start to deplete, and this can affect their mood, it can affect their concentration, they can start to get headaches. So it's being aware of the different stages and whether they're getting enough zinc in their diet. Are they meat eaters? Do they eat pumpkin seeds, lamb, or do you need to supplement it with a food source zinc? And if so, is that child open to it? Will they take a bit of zinc supplement? I think fish oils, as Gaz said, Austin and Elise, I supplemented fish oils while I was breastfeeding. As soon as they could take liquid fish oil, they started having a liquid fish oil, and then as soon as they could start chewing it, they would take kind of capsule fish oils. And we give all 4 kids really high dose fish oils now, so they'll take about 2,000 milligrams a day.
K2, so we'll do K2.
Yeah, K2, so this one, which is one of the ones that's on offer with us at the moment. We still have another week on these. So the reason these fish oils are great for kids is because they're enriched with K2. Now K2, for children, well, I would say for anyone, but particularly children, because their bones are growing at a very rapid rate, K2 helps get the calcium into bones. So it's also very good for dental health. And if you're concerned about osteoporosis or keep, protecting your bones from osteoporosis, K2 is also essential for that. That's why I say it's not just for children. This particular product's for children, but there are other ways that you can try and boost your K2 through diet. But again, with children, it's not always as easy as just getting it into their diet. Cheese does have K2 in it, so if your kids like cheese, then they're going to get
sauerkraut,
a certain amount. Sauerkraut, all fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, natto or natto, I believe it's pronounced natto, cheese, egg yolk, they all have K2 in. But this has the benefit of having K2 with omega-3. And omega-3, as I said, they're so important because you're literally building your child's nervous system at this age. So it helps them with concentration, mood, focus. It helps with their immune system. It helps with their hormones because you use the omega-3s to make the hormones. So a really important, I believe, crucial base for creating a healthy child.
Start.
Yeah, a healthy start. And someone asked him the questions, is it necessary to supplement everything?
Yeah. Unless
you live in an area where you get fresh fish every day and the kids are having, fresh mackerel and fresh salmon and all these oily wild fish and they're eating them regularly, then I would say no, you don't need to. I know the kids don't eat fish as much as they should or could. I don't, which is why I supplement every day. And also I supplement because I want the additional anti-inflammatory benefits of the omega-3s to counterbalance the inflammatory lifestyles that we all live.
Here's a question here. Supplements for recommendations. Supplements for kids.
So supplements for kids, again, we do the pure omega-3. So this is an easy swallow. So you can see that's the size of the capsule. And this gives you your DHA and your EPA. So they are the smart, intelligent fats that the brain needs to function. So you can either have an easy swallow or you can have the liquid, which is a strawberry and watermelon flavor. So it's, kids who don't like swallowing supplements can have a liquid form with the K2 in it. There's an orange burst. Now, this isn't traditionally designed for children. Wiley's designed it more for menopause or for women or men who experience dry eyes. It has a lot of omega-7 in it, which as a lot of you guys will know, especially from the book, I'm a big fan of omega-7. But it's also an orange flavour, so it has no fishy flavour. So again, kids tend to find that's
I like that one.
A very palatable oil. Potassium magnesium citrate. Again, it's a capsule. So if they're not big into taking capsules, then you might have to open it up for them and stir it in some water. But this is a nice supplement for just relaxing your kids. If you find your kids have a lot of nervous tension, they may be lacking in B vitamins. They may also be lacking in magnesium and potassium. And again, if we all lived in our kind of caveman world, you know, if we were roaming every day and picking our wild foods and hanging out by the campfire, Mum and Dad were super chilled as well. We weren't in the middle of a pandemic. There's no exam pressure.
The kids wouldn't have all those readily available snacks.
They wouldn't. So the nutritional stress, the emotional stress, the environmental stress, the chemicals we're exposed to on a regular basis, the pesticides, the toxins. There are more toxins now than ever before in our history of food environment. And so our bodies need more to safeguard against inflammation, particularly emotional stress. And I know parents out there will relate to us when we say we know the stress kids are put under, exam stress, and then there's, you know, all the stress of social media now, and, you know, keeping up with their mates, and just it's a different environment that they grow up in, and that coupled with a poor food environment puts more stress on the brain.
Fitting in is a big issue for most kids.
Yeah.
They just want to fit in. So if we were going back to the caveman days, as you were talking about before, they'd be involved in preparing the food.
They'd be hunting at a young age.
Gathering.
Yeah.
They'd be doing everything that Mum and Dad are doing anyway. They wouldn't be distracted by the games, by the modern day distractions.
Computers, consoles. They'd be out much more walking and on their feet.
But the nutrition would be so clean.
Yeah.
That the choices they make come from ultimate clarity. You know, you can imagine that there's no distractions around. They would ultimately be in the same state as you. Your nutritional intake would be the same, so they would be so much more focused. But unfortunately, we don't have that in this day and age at the moment.
And their gut health as well is quite vulnerable to being disrupted because of recurrent illnesses, antibiotic usage, medication.
That's another whole issue, isn't it?
It is.
Antibiotics.
So it's about trying to counterbalance and help out with those. How does keto in children work? Well, I think we've covered that. I mean, really, it's about moderating. We don't want to load up kids with sugar. You know, we have to start training and teaching and educating kids about why and how and what. And we're really big into teaching our kids. We're really passionate about them understanding. We don't try and dictate to them. We don't try and, you know, talk at them, but we try and teach them why it's important to have, you know, certain seeds and nuts and calcium and meats, and why. I mean, the kids will look at something and say, "Oh, is that butter grass fed?" You know, they use the terminology now because they understand. They'll eat biltong rather than crisps when we're out because they know, A, it's tasty and they love the flavour of it, but B, it's a healthier choice for them. They know about deep fat fried foods. They still want it. They still want the chips. They still want the
chocolate. They still want the Haribo.
But chocolate. I did pick up some chocolate here. So these chocolates. So you have raw, which is essentially going to be higher in nutrients for your children, or you can go for a 74. Now 74, it still has sugar in it, but it's going to have. You want to try and get them used to that slightly bitter flavour of darker chocolate. You know, 74 is a great place to be with children. If you can get your kids on 74 or higher, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
You're doing so well. I mean, because, like, for example, Austin and Elise never had chocolate growing up. They had macadamia nuts, and I call them white chocolate balls. They don't really like chocolate now, so chocolate's not so much of an issue. But they do like other sweet things, so it's about finding. They like these cookies, actually. Those ones have gone down the best out of. They weren't so keen on those ones. I don't know if any of you guys have tried those ones.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, I know you like those ones, but
they're actually quite sweet.
Those ones were the ones that they. And The ingredients in these, again, they're grain-free, they're gluten-free. The main ingredient is almonds. Yeah, so they have rice flour in, coconut oil, they have some agave syrup, so they are sweetened. But much better than like a Jammy Dodger or a...
Haribo.
Well, yeah, much better than that. So let's just have a quick look at the questions we've had. We've covered emotional meltdowns in diet. Really, it's about stabilizing blood sugar and ensuring the children have what their brain needs. Don't forget, they're going through already huge changes as children. So when their blood sugars are up and down, you know what it's like when you're hungry or you're like, I just want what my body wants. The cold turkey of coming off wheat, or the struggle of wanting wheat. Wheat is as addictive as drugs. It lights up the brain in the same way. So when kids are kind of constantly wanting, the bagels and the bread and the pasta, and they're eating so much, you're like, wow, where are they putting this?
Isn't it bizarre how they'll just take a piece of bread with nothing on it, and they'll just chow down on it. Nothing on it. They'll just eat bread on its own.
Well, it's a very addictive substance, wheat is. So emotional meltdowns can improve when you ease off, transition. You don't want to just cold turkey them because that might be a bit harsh, but what you can do is start replacing the pastas with the chickpea pastas and replace the bread with alternatives. And in the book, we have different, pizza recipes and bread roll recipes. Get the kids involved. I mean, look at the pizzas. They love these pizzas. Get them involved with cooking. I think that's another really important way of helping to educate kids, but also helping them to feel involved with choices, getting them in the kitchen. And I know a lot of you have done that recently.
Independence, there's a few, again, boxes to be ticked there. Every Friday, if you haven't seen, we do live Keto kitchen cookery, every Friday at 4.
Yes, we do sell the chocolate back. We have a huge range, actually, online and in-store, particularly in-store. But we sell a lot of 100% chocolate, which some kids are open to. I think if you're making, like, for example, the keto, lava cakes we made last week. Yeah, and they're so chocolatey, and you could use 74% with those, so you don't actually have to add in any xylitol or any extra sweetener. You can add a little bit of maple syrup if you want, or a little bit of raw honey, but you're trying to get them off the flavour of sugar and instead get them to taste the flavour of chocolate. I mean, chocolate tastes a certain way, sugar tastes a certain way. We want them to start to enjoy chocolate for what it is, and not the sugar, because that's
or chocolate for what you think it is.
Yeah, which is just the sugar. And when your brain starts rewarding you with a dopamine hit every time you get sugar, and then you need more sugar to get that same reward. And this is why children have an insatiable appetite for sugar. Like, how do you eat so much sugar? It's because their brain has been trained to be needing more, and this leads down to the insulin resistance path, which we won't talk about today, but it is a major problem. When you become insulin resistant, you just, it's basically disrupts your
sugar diabetes.
So it's not ideal. So yes, these chocolates and a few other variations we have. We have a lot of 74. We have there's one called Dark Forest or Chocolate Forest. It's like a cherry chocolate. That one's really nice. And Hippie Chick, which is like a geranium and orange one.
Montezuma.
They do a great range.
Yeah.
So other items that I've picked up that the kids tend to like, these fat bars go down well, raspberry and seed. Nut butters, just nice natural nut butters, gingerbread nut butter. Perfect on either some toast, if you're making keto bread at home.
They love this one.
Just put on apples, slice up some apples and put some nice gingerbread nut butter.
Yeah.
It makes such great picnic food. And again, as I said, don't see food as having to be traditional on a plate. You can have apple and nut butter with meats, whole meats, chicken, mayonnaise, We use seaweed a lot, like seaweed flakes, the Clear Spring seaweed packets.
They love those.
So full of iodine as well, which is essential for their brains. Their
They
children,
will just have that for lunch, just seaweed, if you allow it.
they would. But iodine is very important. Studies show us that children who lack iodine can have a degree of mental retardation. So it's important that the brain gets these key trace minerals, and nutrients that children need, especially, as I said, in this food environment. Collagen. We add collagen into our kids' smoothies, eggs,
I used to hide it. I used to just put it in, and now they just know that I put it in, and they don't mind it. So the idea of it being in there, it takes a while. It's a habit, of course. It takes a while for them to get used to it. But the thing is, you can't taste it. It's just the idea that you're putting it in there, and you can hide it all you want, and then they won't recognize it. But we recognize ourselves that it's important that they know that it's in there, so they get used to adding these things in themselves, and they love it.
And again, someone asked, one of the questions was posted about why does so much of what we do involve supplementing? It's because our food environment is so different now. We don't eat collagenous parts of the meat so much. If you guys make your own bone broths at home and you're enriching your foods with bone broth, awesome. You don't need to add this stuff. But if you're not necessarily, cooking up the bones or chowing down on the collagenous parts of the animal that give you this whole spectrum of amino acids, then, it provides extra nutrition. These are modern ways of helping us to combat very modern problems and soils that are so depleted now. I mean, soils. So I was talking to a food producer about this, and they were saying that you don't need to add the minerals that plants don't need to grow. So food producers will add fertilizers with minerals in that will see the plants grow, but it's irrelevant what nutrients the plants hold. To us, as humans, it is relevant because we obtain from the plants the nutrients we need. So if soil is very depleted in iodine, for example, you won't get those nutrients, those trace minerals from the food you eat. If you're getting chocolate from a volcanic or a coastal area, you will get very different minerals in that soil. So it's about trying to understand where you can obtain certain minerals and what soils are enriched still, which are depleted, which are organic, and it's a difficult task. So
when you have nutrient-rich vegetables, you can really, if you've been living on supermarket vegetables, and then you have nutrient-rich veggies, homegrown, as you all know, you can always taste the difference. Tomatoes is a good example, because they pick them green, they go in the refrigerator, they ship them out, they slowly ripen over whatever it is, a week.
Yeah.
But they're never as good as homegrown, as most people know. But we tend to just live with whatever we can get. Supermarket veggies. We don't have to. But you just need to be more willing, I guess, to go out and get what you really need in terms of nutrient-rich food.
Yeah.
Shop at your local butchers. Look for the grass-fed meat. Look for the omega-3 rich meat. Go to your local fishmonger. If you don't want to do fish oils, I was going to pick that one up. If you don't want to, if you don't want to supplement, go to your local fishmonger. But just put a bit more thought into what you do. I mean, we put a lot of thought into what we feed ourselves, what we feed our kids. It takes a lot. Maybe it takes a little bit more effort, and it might cost a little bit more money, but it's still worth it. And once you create the habit, you never think about it. You really don't. You just don't. You just do it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, right? You know that you're putting the best possible. You're giving yourself the best possible chance of having an enriched, nutrient-rich food fit.
It's a gift that your children will value for the rest of their lives. It is, because you're laying down a pathway for their gut health, their mental well-being, the strength of their bones, their susceptibility to infection because of a strong immune system. It is a gift that, you know, they may not appreciate you making all these selections at this time, but it's a lifelong gift.
We get the you know, the looks. We get the same looks everybody must get when we bring out certain things. They're like,
and then they try it and they're like, "That's not so bad," and you're like, "Okay."
Takes a bit of time.
It takes patience, and it takes motivation. You know, you have to motivate it to want this for your kids too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I think that covered those questions there. Cruciferous veg in kids. I mean, it's not easy with cruciferous veg. Broccoli tastes bitter when their palate's not adapted to it. So salt, I always season vegetables. Butter, melt butter on veggies, put salt on veggies.
Himalayan salt.
And I mean, you can try and put mayo. I like mayonnaise, good mayonnaise.
Trial and error, right?
Yeah, it is really trial and error. I'm finding what, you know, they might like sprouts, they might hate sprouts, they might like cauliflower, broccoli, spinach, if you're making something with spinach in it, but just persevere and find that click that, okay, they'll eat it with this, or they'll eat it as part of this. But they won't know. You know, you could put it in a soup, for example. You could make a lovely cauliflower soup and put cheese in it, so it's like a cheesy cauliflower soup. And that might be the way they eat more cauliflower or broccoli, and have them make it with you. So there's that, "Ooh, I made this myself, I want to try it."
The understanding of what they've made and how to make it.
And then in the soup you could add a bit of collagen powder, or some bone broth powder, or bone broth cubes if you've made your own bone broth, and say to them, "Well, this is what this is doing, this is what this is adding." You know, strong bones.
Giving them confidence too to actually start using the kitchen. I mean, we have 4 kids, two that are 8, 10 and 11, and you know, we're giving them confidence to just go in and help themselves and make their own breakfast. Go in and make your own food. Go in and try it, you know.
Have a look in the fridge and see what, you know, what's in there. There's meats, there's cheese, there's eggs.
And we've all created the habit of being their assistants, assisting them in making all of their meals. Well, you have to break that habit sooner or later, and you know, now's as good time as any. So teaching them how to make and what to make it with, in order to get that end result, the thing that they actually really like to eat.
And being savvy shoppers as well, getting them to read packets. You know, they'll pick up something when we're out and about, and we'll say, "Read the ingredients." Okay, and they know.
Well, they just read it now. Anyway. "Oh, Daddy, this one has," you know, and they'll just read whatever it has. No, is it? "Oh, Daddy, where's the free from section?" Well, they'll just go and look for it. You know, the new habits that have been installed slowly over time, and now just becoming the everyday norm when you do go shopping. And it's amazing, you know, because you know, new habits are being created. I mean, it takes time. Is it 30 days to create a habit?
Yeah,
it might take longer
probably
with
longer
kids.
in kids. Yeah. But and it's also where you go. I mean, we were in Glastonbury yesterday, and so we took some things to prepare. But then we found a lovely shop called Earth Foods or something. So we knew there'd be stuff in there that the kids would have and we could have. And so we let them just roam around and have a look. And then they'll find 1 or 2 things that, you know, some activated nuts, or some bars that aren't packed with sugar and are made with seeds and nuts. And if we did that in a supermarket, well, I can't even imagine what they'd come back with.
Yeah, but they're reading. The thing is, it's important to note that they're actually now reading labels, and a part of that, I think, and I believe, is to please. You know, because most kids want to please parents, and you can see they come up to you with pride that they've found something that might be good for them. Well, what about this?
And that they'll enjoy.
And that they'll enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's all part of it. I think we're coming to the end.
Yeah, we are. So, guys, I hope that's been really helpful for you. This is a subject that we're going to be looking at in more detail, because I know it's something that's really a constant
it's a battle
David
for.
and Goliath for parents in food industries. So, if you're not already a member of our website, please sign up, because we're going to be doing a lot more blogs and covering this in more detail. If you watch our Keto Live Cookery, we don't always have the kids there, but we do occasionally. And a lot of parents do the keto cookery with their kids so that it gets their kids really interested in enjoying gluten-free, grain-free scones and jam made with chia seeds or with gelatin. So these are great tools that you're giving your kids from a very young age.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Day.
If you haven't already, we have a Wiley's competition running at the moment. It's on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you like the post and tag it or whatever you have to do to enter. The details are on there. It ends. It ends today. So we'll be announcing the winner later today. It's a great prize, a big hamper of Wiley's. Our 20% off the full range of Wiley's products has been going incredibly well. We have another week left of that, so it's 2 weeks from last week to celebrate our 2-year birthday, and it's 20% off blanket range. We haven't put any restrictions on the number of products because we see a lot of you have been stocking up. I don't blame you. I would have done the same.
I'd do the same.
So that continues for another week. And guys, have a wonderful day. We will see you for live keto cookery on Friday, where we'll be making our keto scotch eggs.
Or next week on same time. Episode.
Have a great day, guys.
We might be somewhere else for that.
We'll still be doing it live.
Yeah.
Wherever we are.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys. Actually, I don't think we have to do it.